Hello, welcome back to Danganronpa IF. Things are looking bad for our heroine. Engaged in a battle with a seemingly endless wave of Monokumas. Oh, how much time had passed? The surveillance cameras at the gates were capturing footage of countless Monokumas falling at the hands of a child who felt like a raging demon. The Monokumas bolstered their numbers, and now 100 of them were trying to sink their claws into Mukuro. Most of them were running on autopilot, reacting to her movements based on prior information they had received in advance. But despite standing before hundreds of mechanical adversaries, Mukuro's face showed no fear. She hadn't sustained a single injury given her presence, for a presence that was nearly divine to behold, though Sakura Ogami was powerful enough to injure her arm. Mukuro in her current state could potentially fight Sakura to a draw now, without relying on firearms. She took complete control of the battlefield, taking in her surroundings as if they were part of herself. She dodged attacks from the rear as though she had eyes in the back of her head and stabbed through Monokuma's weak points with her metal bar. No matter where the attacks came from, Mukuro deflected them all as if her skin were covered in eyes. Describing her as an ultimate no longer did her justice. Mukuro had transcended the boundaries of humanity and became a pure killing machine. But despite that, even though she understood the ludicrous power her sister possessed, Junko was not afraid. She felt not one iota of fear. After all Junko can feel is despair. She even started to admire her sister's attempt to fill her with despair. But that sentiment quickly filled Junko with an orgiastic ecstasy of despair. Junko knew. She knew that Mukuro was neither hope nor despair. She was just a phenomenon. A disappointing girl who no longer understood herself, who only knew how to be violent because it was all she could believe in anymore. Mukuro had become an avatar of destruction beyond that of any military force. She couldn't even be considered a soldier anymore. She was a natural disaster like a typhoon or a tornado. Or perhaps like gravity, she was now a fundamental force of the universe that only existed to bring despair to Junko. The mastermind enjoyed watching her sister go all out. If Mukuro destroyed everything and ruined her life, Junko would still be comforted by the despair. She could just go right ahead and overpower her. Junko considered this for a few seconds until a familiar, hopeless habit reared its head. Her habit of getting so bored that it made her sick. The girl who had been grinning as she watched the screen now bore a look of calm stoicism, and she reached for the microphone connected to Monokuma's speaker. Mukuro was no longer human anymore, but Junko knew how to bring her back. It was a simple feeling, really, and with that hopeless feeling for Mukuro in mind, the mastermind said just one word. Mukuro. That voice was calling her name. Instead of using Monokuma's voice filter, Junko's natural voice was coming out of a Monokuma unit. That's all it took. With one word, Mukuro Ikusaba stopped being a force of nature and became a person again. Monokuma wouldn't miss this opportunity. As if moving to the beat of Mukuro's shaking heart, a torrent of claws leapt to attack her. But Mukuro trusted her instincts, and twisted her entire body to fend off the attacks, leaving her with only a few scrapes here and there. But the despair wasn't over yet. The ultimate despair didn't waste any time making her next move. Mukuro, watch out! Huh? As soon as Mukuro heard that voice, her mind went completely blank. Oh, did she play, Makoto's voice? There was no mistaking it. That was Makoto's scream. The scream that saved her from the spears of Gungnir and changed her destiny. No, that's wrong. It took her a tenth of a second to realize that voice was just a sound clip that Junko had replayed. but it was more than enough time to drag Mukuro, who had regained her humanity, into despair. Right when she had recovered from a moment of shock, Monokuma appeared behind her and roundhouse kicked her in the temple. She twisted her head to roll with the blow, but at that moment a different Monokuma attacked her from the opposite side with a headbutt. And as soon as Mukuro dodged that attack, 3 Monokumas launched simultaneous drop kicks and knocked her to the ground. The fact that they weren't using their claws meant that they weren't trying to kill Mukuro right away. Before she could stand up again, dozens of Monokumas waiting for her on the floor climbed on top of Mukuro and pinned her limbs. One of the Monokumas waddled over to Mukuro as she lay face down on the floor and laughed. A pretty girl being pinned by all these me's? I wonder if I should feel more excited about this. Don't make that face. If I wanted to kill you, I'd just pump you full of bullets right now. But I don't think the audience watching this on TV would like that ending very much. Oh yeah, he is, That's right, I forgot, he is broadcasting all this too. I need to make sure I do it the right way this time. What are you planning to do to me? Mukuro asked in her emotionless voice. Monokuma guffawed and answered, Nothing. I'm going to stick to the original plan to make you play the killing game at this school. I'll erase everyone's memories again, and I'll just make them redo the introduction and the entrance ceremony again. In typical Monokuma fashion, he leaned his face toward Mukuro. It'd be boring if we had to redo everything. Maybe this time I'll have you participate as Mukuro Ikusaba. I'll take away even more of your memories, like I did to that irritating detective girl. You'll just be a poor little girl with no memory at all. As Monokuma talked and wiggled his body from side to side, the other Monokumas danced and twirled around. Amid this fantastical scene, Monokuma continued to describe his hopeless plan in a nonchalant manner. At first you'll be the girl with amnesia and everyone feels so sorry for you. But as they unravel the mystery of this academy, they'll find out who you really are. It's exciting to think how they'll treat you when that happens. Knowing you, you'll probably kill someone purely on instinct. Maybe I should rethink my rules about self-defense. You can't. Her memories would be erased. There was nothing she could do about her classmates hating her. But losing even her childhood memories would mean her connection to Junko would be severed as well. Even if Mukuro had no interest in the world, that was unbearable even for her. I've heard of New Game Plus before, but this is the first time I'll get to see a New Game Minus. Should I tie you up for fun? Or maybe we should make this game even more masochistic. Get hard mode, very hard mode, and inferno mode. Why skip ahead to impossible mode? Maybe I'll erase your memories after I drag you on a motorcycle, pummel you with 1,000 baseballs, burn you at the stake, and crush you with an excavator. Okay, just referencing all his other executions. Mukuro knew what Monokuma was talking about. He was describing the tools they had prepared for the various execution they had planned for the students. Ah, okay, yeah. Makes sense all that was planned out in advance as well. There is supplemental material that the devs made, actually detailing executions for the other students as well. The ones that we didn't actually see in game. After everyone reintroduces themselves, they'll walk around the school grounds and eventually find a flat-chested girl with amnesia, covered in bandages with Fenrir's tattoo on her right hand. I bet a certain fan base might get off on that. If this were a game, that would increase sales by 500%. Though Monokuma sounded like he was joking, everything he said was deadly serious. As evidence, Mukuro heard a rumbling sound off in the distance. Now then, your sweet ride is on its way! Based on the engine noise, Mukuro surmised that it was the large motorcycle that was supposed to be used for one of the executions. I took the time to bring this all the way from the punishment room, so you better be grateful. The sound of the roaring engine grew louder and louder like the approaching footsteps of death. Mukuro wondered how Monokuma would drive it with such tiny arms and legs, but then she remembered she was dealing with an ultimate despair. Junko would make the impossible possible just to bring about despair. A despair that went hand in hand with Mukuro's fate. Did I fail? I couldn't fill Junko with despair. I couldn't save Makoto and the others. Questions raced through Mukuro's mind, but she wasn't able to answer them. There's no way she could have answered them so easily. After all, she was still alive. The sound of the motorcycle grew closer and closer, as if it was threatening to break Mukuro's spirit. Suddenly, Monokuma stopped moving. The other Monokumas continued doing their automatic movements. As this strange event unfolded, Mukuro noticed something. The motorcycle had suddenly gone quiet. After a few seconds, the engine exploded to life and began to approach even faster than before. Only a few seconds later, what appeared in front of the main entrance was an enormous motorcycle that plowed through groups of Monokumas like a predator hunting for its prey. The rider of the motorcycle was none other than Mondo Owada. Badass. Mukuro and Monokuma were both visibly shocked by this turn of events. Instead of addressing them, Mondo accelerated the motorcycle he stole from Monokuma directly toward Mukuro. Just before his front tire touched Mukuro, he popped a reverse wheelie and turned the entire motorcycle around. The back wheel swept over Mukuro's back, knocking away all the Monokumas that were pinning her. "Hey, can you stand?" Mondo asked and begrudgingly offered his hand to Mukuro. Confused, Mukuro took his hand and stood up. "What are you doing, Mondo? I was so close." "Oh, what are you doing, Mondo? I was so close!" one of the Monokumas protested. Not in his normal voice, but as the hacker Bashiki Midori. "Oh yeah, you're Bashiki or whatever, right?" "That's right, why are you helping a terrorist?" "I ain't bragging about this or anything, but I have no clue if you or this girl is lying." Veins in his temple began to bulge and his cheeks flushed with anger as Mondo said, "Still, you ain't the type to just stand around while some idiot gangs up on a girl." "What are you saying? Get a hold of yourself. You must be experiencing Stockholm Syndrome. You've deluded yourself into thinking you're friends with the criminal who's taking you hostage." Monokuma tried to explain to Mondo, but he ignored him, took Mukuro's hand and pulled her onto the back of the motorcycle. "Oh, shut the fuck up. I don't know nothing about Stockholms or syndromes. Don't go acting like you can boss me around." As Mondo shouted, he revved the motorcycle as if he were using it to punctuate his words. The ceiling-mounted turrets began moving, but the two disappeared before the turrets could take aim at the motorcycle. As they zoomed through the hallway, countless Monokumas chased after them, waving their claws wildly through the air. "Why?" asked Mukuro. "Huh?" shouted Mondo. His voice was even louder than the sound of the engine. "Don't get the wrong idea. I don't trust you at all." He lowered his voice slightly, as if he were whispering to himself. "Still, I don't know why, but I felt like I could trust what he said." "He?" inquired Mukuro. But there was no time for questions. The unit leading the Monokumas chasing after the motorcycle had almost caught up to them. And then, like the enormous maw of some fearsome creature, they brandished their claws in perfect unison. At that moment, the motorcycle zoomed by a certain girl. A girl whose frightening ability surpasses that of any normal human. The strongest girl on Earth. With a fighting spirit that defied comprehension, the ultimate martial artist kicked off the floor. A sound even louder than the motorcycle's engine filled the room. When Mukuro looked back, she saw Sakura standing on the floor, sending the pack of Monokumas flying several meters away. Sakura. If she heard Mukuro mumble her name, Sakura didn't acknowledge it. Like a statue of a fearsome god king, she calmed her breathing as she stood before the pack of Monokumas, ready for battle. "Your pursuit methods seem unbecoming for one who claims to be the ultimate hacker," An overpowering aura seeped from her skin, and her skin shimmered as an intense heat began to fill the hallway. Unlike the power of Mukuro's sheer violence, this was the power of martial arts. Mukuro froze the air around her, and time along with it, but Sakura was generating enough heat to boil space itself as she stood before the Monokumas. With that heat stinging her back, Mukuro looked ahead. Hifumi and Chihiro were cautiously peeking from behind the door leading to the dorms, while Aoi and Taka kept watch from inside the building. After passing them by, Mondo slowed down the motorcycle as he reached the front of the cafeteria, and it turned to a complete stop. The other students looked warily at Mukuro. But among those students, Mukuro noticed two people that weren't regarding her with suspicion. One was Kyoko, who seemed to be studying the situation. The other was a skinny boy who was leaning against Kyoko's shoulder. Chihiro? Kodo? Oh, no. Mukuro's lips began to tremble as she sat on the back of his motorcycle. Ignoring the pain coursing through his body, Makoto smiled at Mukuro and repeated what he said to her earlier. I'm glad you're safe, Mukuro. Fortunately, Mukuro was unable to realize her hope of filling her little sister with despair. Instead, she had successfully planted the seeds of hope into her fellow students. Makoto had barely regained consciousness while Mukuro was fighting the horde of Monokumas at the main entrance. When he woke up, he did something extremely simple. He talked about his memories. Most of the students were still skeptical, even after listening to Mukuro's recorded confession on Chihiro's laptop. Obviously, they were still not entirely convinced at first when Makoto woke up, but after Sakura asked him a certain question, the ambience completely changed. Then beyond the walls of the school, the world is completely destroyed? You're saying there's no one else alive? Makoto slowly sat up to answer Sakura's meek question. Don't worry, I'm sure Kenshiro is still safe. Oh, he knows about Sakura's, her boyfriend, I think? I'm sure he'll still keep his promise to you. Sakura gasped. Kenshiro was the only man she couldn't defeat, a man who'd promised her a rematch and made her one other promise as well. How do you know that name? How do you know about that promise? Because you told me. No, Makoto slowly corrected himself. Told all of us. Sakura was silent after hearing those words. But she then faced the other students and spoke in a loud, clear voice. I'm going to trust Makoto. Sakura. Though Aoi was shocked, Sakura continued to speak with determination. What Makoto just said is something I kept locked away inside my memories. In fact, I was planning to keep that a secret till the day I died. But if I shared that secret, that means there was once a strong bond between Makoto, myself, and with my fellow students as well. Makoto continued to talk in a gentle tone. Though it couldn't have been good for his health, he continued to slowly talk about the memories that the other students no longer had. Why do you know about the story I'm planning to write? Are you a specialist Nen user who can predict the future? Oh, that was Hifumi. I thought it was, Toko. You already finished that story, Hifumi. You had me help you with inking. What? Wait a sec. How do you know I extorted money from... Wait. And money from that girl related to the Kusaryu clan. Ah, they threw a reference to, Fuyuhiko's clan there. Because you even tried to sell my organs to them. His wounds were excruciating, but even so, Makoto kept smiling and talking about their lives together. As if it was his duty to do so now that he had regained his memories. As the other students listened to him, they slowly began to realize something. The vivid accounts he was providing couldn't be explained as just passing knowledge. Clearly, some kind of bond between them all had been erased. Only Byakuya remained cynical. There's no way I would have grown closer to any of you. It's likely you're all secretly working together. Though Byakuya was still hostile toward Makoto's recollection of their memories, for the time being, he determined that Makoto wasn't actually a terrorist. Mukuro had bought enough time for Makoto to wake up and share his memories with the others. Even if she hadn't intended to do that, it was still a small sliver of hope that she grasped tightly. Awesome! And now, as she looked at the boy who'd smiled at her, Mukuro didn't know what to say. She couldn't think of anything to say at all. The battle was over, and Mukuro was now back to being a disappointing girl. She turned away from everyone's faces and apologetically climbed off the back of the motorcycle. But Makoto saw her and slowly opened his mouth to say, "Thank you, Mukuro. You saved my life." Makoto gave her words of sincere gratitude between his weak breaths. Mukuro couldn't bring herself to look at him as she mumbled to herself. Why? Huh? If Kyoko told you, then you already know what I did, right? After regaining his memories and learning the truth, Mukuro should have been nothing but a hated traitor to him. Why would he smile at someone like her? Mukuro kept her head down. Makoto smiled as if he was unsure how to respond and said, "Well, I guess you're right, but you also saved my life many times during these past 2 years, and..." Makoto took a deep, quiet breath and smiled at Mukuro again. "You're my friend. We all spent time with each other. It would be great if you could look for a different path, not despair. And if there's any way I can help you, I will. Do you really think I can walk another path at this point? I don't know what you can do or even what I can do, but I think it's more important to look for that path instead of actually finding it." Was this intentional or a coincidence? Just before he regained his memories, Makoto had said something similar to Mukuro when she spoke to him in the nurse's office as Junko. Regardless of whether he lost his memories or regained them, these words revealed Makoto's true character. As Mukuro confirmed that to herself, Makoto blurted out something that was almost too trusting. "And it's not just you, even Junko can..." But he was immediately interrupted. Oh, great. Monokuma's face appeared on every monitor in the academy, and his laughter seemed to be coming out of every speaker. "I could have kept pretending to be that ultimate hacker, but it's boring to impersonate someone who doesn't even exist. If this keeps up, I'll lose my identity and turn into Kanokuma." Kyoko looked up at a surveillance camera and addressed Monokuma directly. "You seem to give up pretty easily." "There isn't a bear anywhere that gives up as easily as I do. Regardless, I'm pretty sure Chihiro's figured out the secret of my control program by now." "Sho, just as I thought, you included that program on purpose." Kyoko realized something when Mukuro told her about Junko. There were 2 reasons such a hateful person would intentionally leave an obvious clue inside the Monokuma units. Either Junko wanted the students to learn the truth about the outside world and themselves on their own and turn their hopes into despair, or she was looking forward to that clue, resulting in her own plan being undone, which would allow her to feel despair toward herself. She was an angel of everlasting darkness, delighting in her own despair, and using it to spread despair and destruction to those around her. Why would someone like that continue to play the role of Monokuma? "Actually, I set that program for Chihiro to discover if she happened to be one of the final 5 survivors. I feel so sad and empty that my preparation was a waste, but I'm going to think about it positively. The word retreat doesn't exist in Monokuma's dictionary." Nervousness began to grip the students as Monokuma continued talking in his relaxing, uplifting voice. Now then, it looks like everyone's here, including Toko, who's still tied up in her room. So let's start the heart-throbbing, exciting special graduation exam. Really, already? Huh? The students broke out in noisy confusion, but Monokuma ignored them and kept talking. Don't think about it too hard. Relax, relax. Change elax to upward for all I care. I'll still be the most adorable bear here. Byakuya, visibly annoyed with Monokuma's nonsensical rambling, shouted, I already know it's you, Junko. Stop this stupid game and show yourself. Oh my, don't you know? If you want to lure the mastermind out of her heavenly hidey hole, you need to bring a worthy sacrifice. You're not worthy enough at all. Do you really think the mastermind would show herself at your pathetic hope and despair? He roared maniacally and began to explain the special graduation exam. If you pass my exam, everyone will graduate, but if you fail, you'll be held back for a whole year. I'll reset your memories, give you a fresh new lease on life, and you'll reintroduce yourselves at the start of the school year again. They say people's lives don't come with a reset button, but I'm not a people. Whether it's soft resets or hard resets, I can do as I please. Yasuhiro seemed confused, but the other students knew what Monokuma meant by reset. He was going to force them to relive their school lives once again. As Yasuhiro struggled to understand, Taka pointed at a nearby monitor and shouted, Stop this already! No matter what you do to us, we'll never commit murder. These past few days should already have made that clear to you. What was that? Jumped Monokuma. Are you serious? Of course. No one here would take another human being's life for any reason. As Taka shouted, one of the students, a pale-faced girl standing apart from the others, looked away. It was Sayaka. As she trembled, a voice popped up from behind her. What do you think? Oh, I was wondering who was talking. What do you think, Sayaka? Couldn't even turn around from sheer terror, but Sayaka knew. She knew Monokuma was standing right behind her. Do you really think none of you will become a killer? Does he already know what she was planning that night earlier? Monokuma leaned towards Sayaka and asked her a question only she could hear. By the way, Sayaka, why did you go to Makoto's room when nothing strange had happened yet? Did you two have an inappropriate relationship? What would your fans think if they found you made a move on a boy by sneaking into his room? Or were you there for some other reason? She could barely make a sound, much less scream, as her trembling worsened. Monokuma had nothing to gain by cornering Sayaka and toying with her emotions like this. He simply wanted to see the young singer fall into despair over her true character. For that reason, Monokuma didn't relent. Hey, what were you trying to do to your close friend you've known for the past 2 years? Her determination from last night blended with the memories Makoto had recounted. It ate away at Sayaka's mind like a disease. As her mind began to rip itself apart, she fell to her knees. A clear ball flying at just under 105 miles an hour struck Monokuma at the mouth with enough force to sink into his face. The speaker in Monokuma's mouth was immediately destroyed as his body rolled into a wall and stopped moving. Sayaka came to her senses and looked where the ball came flying from. Leon? She saw Leon breathing heavily as he stared intensely at Monokuma. Yasuhiro grabbed him and yelled, Oh, dude, why'd you do that, Leon? That crystal ball's really valuable. Deja vu, huh? Leon had stolen Yasuhiro's crystal ball and thrown it at Monokuma. That Monokuma bastard was trying to take Sayaka hostage. What was I supposed to do? Dude, that crystal ball cost me $2 trillion. $2 trillion! It's $2 trillion now? They don't even print that much money anymore. Oh, bullshit. Besides, if the world's all screwed up, what the hell are you gonna need money for anyway? But if it's safe out there, I'll just join the major leagues or whatever and pay you back. Well, I could pay you back for doing something else besides baseball. As those two argued, Sayaka fell to her knees. Hey, shouted Leon, running toward her. Sayaka, are you okay? She looked at him and stared blankly. Leon. She made up her mind and she raised her head and she said, there's something I need to confess to you later. What? Seriously? Sayaka was staring at Leon. Oh, wait. Wait. Not just to you, but to Makoto and the others, too. Sayaka had made up her mind to confess the sin that was weighing heavily on her heart, but Leon seemed not to hear the latter half of her remark. He ran back to the others, slapped Afumi and Yasuhiro on their backs, and shouted, Alright, everyone, let's ace this exam or whatever and get out of here already. There's no way I'm going to let my happy memories of this place get taken away. The Monokuma inside the monitor responded. Fine, fine, now that things are finally coming to a boil, let's start the graduation exam. Sakura, who had been outside the dormitory, suddenly appeared with some information. The Monokumas in the hallway are acting peculiar. The students all moved to the main building to see what Sakura was talking about. There, they saw 50 Monokumas standing in 2 rows along the walls of the hallway, and one standing at the very end of the hall. There was something strange on top of this Monokuma's head. An enlarged version of the escape button that Makoto obtained from the Mono machine. As each student took in the sight, an announcement rang throughout the school. The me at the end of this hall has a button on top of his head that will open the main entrance. You have 15 seconds to get that button, and if you do, I'll let you have it in place of a diploma. The students seemed surprised by the straightforward explanation. Only Celeste remained calm, and she asked Monokuma with a bored look on her face. Of course, it is not as simple as running up and taking it, is it? Oh, how mean! Do I look like the kind of headmaster that would interfere with the student's graduation? Yes. Forget the gunfire salutes. I'm going to send my graduates off with some fireworks. 100 fireworks to be exact. Enough for 20 seconds of hardcore partying. The more perceptive students immediately realized what he was talking about. The bombs installed inside each Monokuma. They would explode one after the other, filling the hallway with fire as soon as time started. After 15 seconds, the me standing at the back of the hall is going to sacrifice himself to give you guys one final firework. By the way, this probably isn't very important, but that button isn't very durable. This graduation exam was Monokuma's way of saying he had no intention of letting anyone leave. It was clear from the explosion the students saw during the entrance exam that the halls of Hope's Peak Academy would be bathed in fire. Even if someone was lucky enough to survive the explosions, the burns on their body alone would be enough to send them into a fatal shock. Their lungs might be completely incinerated by the scorched air before that. Even if they sacrificed one student to run through, the odds were low that they'd even succeed. But there was no reason for every student to run in at once either, and a shadow of despair fell upon their faces. Nice, very nice. I almost want to take a picture so I have these faces as a souvenir. As Monokuma laughed from behind the monitor, Sakura stepped forward. I'll do it. I've only seen the explosion once, but I believe I'm capable of withstanding its power. No, shouted Aoi, you can't. Even you couldn't handle 100 of those explosions. Yeah, let's... You sacrificed yourself for everybody once already. Sakura shook her head. I'm the only one who even has a chance. Suddenly, Mondo remembered the motorcycle he parked in the dormitory and said, Hold up, that motorcycle might be fast enough to go through those explosions. I'll do it. Don't be hasty, urged Sakura. Even if the motorcycle is unharmed by the explosions, that doesn't mean its rider will be. As Sakura and the others continued their debate, one person stepped toward the hallway lined with Monokumas. I'll do it. Mukuro, screamed Makoto weakly. Mukuro, with her back facing Makoto, turned her head to the side slightly. Sorry, they misspelled her name in that one. Or so, saying, wait, what? Gave him a small nod. She knew it would come to this. She knew why Monokuma would pose such an impossible exam. Junko is already looking forward to the next despair game. She's going to erase everyone's memories, including mine. She just wants to torment us and fill us with despair before that happens. But Mukuro knew her sister's personality all too well, and that's why she was confident. She knew that the escape button was real. Whenever Junko brought despair to others, she always made sure there was a possibility that despair would befall her instead. If the students won this gamble and made it through this horrible situation, they would finally escape to the outside world. That outcome would obviously fill Junko with immense despair. In the same way she left a clue in Monokuma's control program, Junko couldn't be satisfied unless she took plans to assure her own destruction. It was this quality that made Junko the ultimate despair. That's why Mukuro was determined to do it. She knew she was the only person who stood a chance of making that outcome possible. Even if she had to risk her life. But right now, Mukuro wanted to live more than anything. She wanted to hold on to this world, a world she had no interest in previously. She didn't even know if this hesitation she felt was disappointing or not. But she wanted to live and continue searching for a new path. A path where she could abandon her submission to despair, where she could accept the sins of the past and continue to live. Mukuro, who was known as a war machine, found her heart beset by overwhelming fear and anxiety. Until now, it never occurred to her that determination was necessary to live. As if she was brushing that fear aside, she quietly said, "Thank you, Makoto." Unfortunately, the words she said to the boy who showed her new possibilities never reached his ears. Sakura, however, heard her and frowned as she said, "You're planning to sacrifice yourself as an act of penance. I shall stop you with all my power." Though her words were firm, there was an unmistakable affection hiding in them. Both girls had dedicated their lives to battle, and yet Mukuro felt a twinge of jealousy towards Sakura for possessing something she lacked. Mukuro leaned towards Sakura and whispered in her ear. Ellipses. What? Are you serious? Sakura's frown intensified. Monokuma's voice blared throughout the halls. All right, I'm going to start the exam now. Ready, set, go! There's no time for questions or objections. Frontmost Monokuma exploded, sending a roaring wave of heat through the hall. But Mukuro didn't look away. She began moving, powered by resolute determination. Okay, I think this looks like another good cutoff, so I'm wondering if the next chapter will be the last one. We will find out then.
I'm playing a game.